Okay, I just wanted to go over some standard dominant chord shapes that I use and a couple of different ways to apply them. Basically, we're all used to playing, you know, a G chord. And that is a G7, and we use lots of different voicings of G7s in bluegrass. But that's, you know, we think of that as a G7. Well, and it is, of course. But in jazzier music, there are colorations you can use on a dominant chord, which, you know, a dominant chord is really what I think a lot of people call the jazz man's, you know, land, the place where all the so many cool sounds exist is on a dominant chord. Lots of tensions available, and there are some tensions that I call consonant tensions. They're tensions that make a pretty dominant chord. Of course, you've got the 1, 3, 5, and 7, but then on consonant tensions, I think of them as 2 and 6 for the most part. You know, the sus4 is fine to use, but it takes the 3, 7 away from the dominant chord, so you get, and it kind of takes away the function. Doesn't take away the function, but it basically changes the tonality from, changes it away from a real strong dominant sound. But and there's also a sharp 4, kind of a Lydian dominant kind of sound, but that's not really what I'm looking at right now. Basically, I'm looking at a 6 and a 9 on dominant chords. Here's the 6 dominant chords that I use to color consonant dominants. You got G, here's the 7, and the 13. So on an open, that's a nice 13. G add 6, G7 add 6, or G7 add 13, or some people just call it G7 13 because it doesn't have an 11 or a 9 in it. And that's the same thing up the neck as up here. So this one, then if you keep that 7 and shift the voicings up, you got 7, 3, 13, and 1. That's another really cool sounding G7 13, or G7 add 13. The next one is a G9, which I use, which is root 3, 7, 9. Sometimes I play it like this to make it ambiguous with no third, but this is basically what I'm hearing. Then from there, I jump up to here, and that's a G9 as well. 3, 7, root 9. Closer voiced, of course. This is nice and open sounding. That's a much more kind of a dense voicing of it. From there, I keep the 3rd, and then the 7 there, and play that G9, which is 3, 7, 9, and 5. This you can turn into a flat 5 easy, or a sharp 5 easy. So, then from there, I basically move this note up to the 5th of the chord, keep the 7, there's a 3, and there's a G13 again, which is really very much like where we started. This is a little closer voicing, this is a little wider voicing. So those are the 6 types of what I call consonant dominant chord voicings that I use a lot. And then just an application of that, what you get if you take those voicings and offset them by 6 frets or a tritone, you get the voicings that work for a G7 alt chord. So if I were to take, this is what we're hearing, G7, and if I were to take those voicings and offset them by 6 chords, 6 frets, here's that first one we use, we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and play it here. What I'm actually playing is a D flat 7, which these positions are explained in some documentation that I have on the Banjo Hangout, so that hopefully you can use that for reference. But if you're hearing, Here's another one. These are the same voicings that I was playing as consonant voices, but now I've offset them each by a tritone. So here's right. So anyway, and what those color is an alt scale or alt mode or alt chord coloration. It's a 5-chord with a scale coloring it that is a half step up and melodic minor. So anyway, that's one way. If you learn those 6 consonant voices, offset them by 6 frets, you get your tritone subs or your alt chord voicings.